Hello, everybody, and welcome to the LFC Transfer Room live stream with myself, Dean, Paul, and Race. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this Monday evening following Liverpool's Carabao Cup victory in a nail-biting overtime. I have my American head on me. Extra time win in the dying embers of the game where Virgil van Dijk, our captain, came through for us, thankfully, because I don't think my heart would have been able to take penalties. Before we get into everything, though, please do make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. If you have, thank you so much. And make sure you have your notifications on for all future streams and videos. We will be live again from tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. UK time for our post-game stream. And we will also have our Stars, Stripes, and Anfield Nights podcast, or stream, should I say, not podcast, for our more American time zone friends. That'll be on at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 2 a.m. UK time is usually the time that comes out. But yeah, just to let you know about the next couple of streams up, and then we'll have our post-game stream on Wednesday following the FA Cup matchup with Southampton. That'll be about 10 o'clock in the evening UK time, so hopefully everybody can join us for those streams. But without further ado, we will get into some of the topics that we have for ourselves today, and the first one is more good news on top of good news. It seems that Xabi Alonso seems to be more and more ever closer to being a Liverpool manager with I can't remember the name of the journalist. Santi, I believe, is the name of the journalist that it was. I'm going to pull it up here now because I have the tweet right in front of me. This is reported by one of the football journalists that come across on Twitter. Xabi Alonso is more and more close to joining LFC. The Spanish coach has made it clear in his mind and has had several talks between him and his entourage and the Liverpool board. Even if Bayern is pushing, it seems more likely that the Bayer Leverkusen coach will not continue another year in the Bundesliga. It seems to be edging more and more close to him becoming a Liverpool manager. Race, it just seems to just pile on. When it rains, it pours. It seems to be absolutely fantastic news after fantastic news. We're already Carabao Cup champions, and now we find out the manager of our dreams, or most of our dreams, I'd assume. I know Paul has a lovely feeling for Thomas Frank. I don't disagree with him. I think that's a good shout as well. But hearing this news today after coming off a high of a win yesterday, it's just the icing on the cake, realistically, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you're Xabi too, I mean, if you see the Liverpool's game yesterday, I mean, how can you not just absolutely fall in love with the club again? I mean, he knows what it's about. He knows what the badge stands for and what it means to play in front of our fans. I mean, how can you just not see us singing "You'll Never Walk Alone" at the end of it? Everyone, reminiscent of how it was against Barcelona. I mean, it was just amazing scenes once Van Dijk's header went in. Just the celebration and all that. I mean, we are putting forth a damn good pitch for why Xabi should pick us over Bayern, and I'm not even really concerned with Bayern in that possibility. I mean, you look at Bayern, like that's just kind of a joke of a job. I mean, there's no real challenge in going there. You're going to go to Bayern. Bayern's going to buy the best players in the league, even though they're not winning this year. That they're going to be up there every year, and there's a lot of pressure too for Bayern to win right away as well. Bayern is a high profile gig, and they've been cycling through a lot of managers in the last few years. So to come to us in Liverpool, he's going to have that extra time to deal with. He's going to have that time with the fans because he's one of ours. He's played for the club. He has a history with us, and so it's it really is just a great scenario for him. And as long as we continue to win these games here, and again, Klopp has laid the foundation for what this club stands for and everything, what is great with the club. It's hard not to be romantic about it. I mean, it really is it's a dream scenario for us, best case, with Klopp leaving, another, manager who, again, Leverkusen still kicking on in the Bundesliga. They're, I think, 11 points clear now. They have just a huge gap there. Of course, have the Europa League as well, and that would certainly be something if we would match up with them in the Europa League, and then Xabi would see firsthand what those nights at Anfield are like again, and just kind of taking it all in. It's really, I mean, obviously we're biased as Liverpool fans, but it really seems like a no-brainer as to what job he should take if he so wishes to leave Leverkusen at the end of this season. And so, again, we're just continuing with talks. If there's any sort of agreement that can be made by Xabi, before the end of the season, I don't know, but it's certainly, it's more good news. It just comes with winning, right? I mean, winning creates such a great environment, and then all of a sudden you get these pieces of news and whatnot. And certainly it's heard of where we were maybe a week ago when we were dropping like flies and everyone's getting injured, and we still have the injuries to deal with. But as far as the results on the pitch so far, they've been nothing but great. And certainly the Xabi train is off and running.
It is. It really is. And it's absolutely fantastic to see. Jen, as always, thank you so much for your £9.99. Congratulations. You'll never walk alone, but more Kev. Hopefully Kev will be back soon. He's away at the moment, but we will try and get him back as soon as possible for you. I know he was down at Wembley himself, and he was enjoying the festivities down there. So he was definitely there watching the game. And Kelleher mentions here, as well as Klopp said in his interview after the match, this is a credit to the academy, and I, for one, want to especially congratulate Alex Inglethorpe, the academy director, and that is where some congratulations have to go. Paul, we realistically went into this game kind of as underdogs, purely from the amount of injuries that we had and how little experience, really is the best word to put it, that we had on the bench and on the pitch, in that we have an injured 11 that could probably compete for a Premier League title as well, which is absolutely hilarious. And for these kids to come out and play and go, and in some instances, their debuts, if not their second debut, to come on in a Carabao Cup final in extra time, in the dying embers, and still be able to put in a performance. Like James McConnell himself was one player that, amongst all subs, he was first in an awful lot of categories, such as passes, recoveries. He was an absolute monster in midfield. It really is, as Kelleher mentioned, a testament to the academy. And I think they quoted something like 300 million worth of talent there. Now, remains to be seen how that blossoms into fruition. Obviously, there's a lot of ifs and buts there, but was there anybody of the younger players, so to speak, that you were very much impressed by in that game on Sunday?
A lot of them, actually, if not all of them. The guy with that Afro hair, Dance, that's his name?
Yeah.
Jayden Dance. Yeah, he looks like a player. He had a really nice header on another day that could have just hit the underside of the post and going. But, he looks like he's going to be a player. I didn't know much about him until the last couple of weeks. I've been trying to Google to see, what he has been doing, but he seems to be a player. I saw something in my Twitter feed which I thought was quite interesting. In the extra time, Caicedo, Enzo, and Mudryk, three of them cost £311 million. Which was more than the entire 11 that we had on the pitch in extra time. And we had Van Dijk that cost, 70-80 million? But those three players on for Chelsea in the 30 minutes of overtime was more than the entire 11 in terms of cost that we had on the pitch at that time, which just mind-boggling. And not only that, we were bossing the hell out of them. They were actually holding on for penalties. Right? So that just goes to show the kind of talent we have in amongst those young players. I think even if Xabi was on the fence, having watched that game yesterday, because I'm sure he did watch the game, to see those talent, that should get him over the hedge, and he should definitely be at Anfield next season, because who would not want to be a part of a team with such talent? And normally, when a team is looking for a manager, it's usually because the manager before was fired because the team has been shite, or they're underperforming, or usually some turmoil. Very rarely an opportunity to come on for a manager where the team is in top. Not only the team is on top, but the team have the talent that can sustain another 3, 4, 5 years on top. So this is an opportunity that I don't think Xavi can afford to miss. I am really impressed with the talent. And, sometimes, I was devastated when I wake up Sunday morning and I realized that no Salah, no Nunes, no Szoboszlai. But now, in retrospect, everything probably worked for good, because had we not had the injuries that we have had over the past couple of months, had we had not Curtis Jones and these guys not able to play, we probably would not have known just the extent of the talent that we have amongst those youngsters. So yes, I'm buzzing for yesterday, but I'm also excited for the future. So we just have to wait and see. But I'm feeling really, really good about my team right now.
Yeah, as am I, and I'm just seeing here coming through in the group chat that people are saying that Endo's in today's training video, walking normal, no boot, no crutches, no nothing. Man is an absolute machine, and he 100% is. Gravenberch as well is in some training gear too, so he could be training too, so we'll have to wait and see. But there's a couple of comments that I want to get to here that were absolutely just, as he mentioned, like Jen mentioned in here about Núñez sprinting, Jones sprinting, Salah walking out. Surely now they're all coming back. I think that might have been more adrenaline than anything else. Jones still had a boot on him and was hobbling down the steps, and Núñez nearly trampled over him getting out to the pitch. I absolutely think that was hilarious. Núñez jumped a full metal gate and then a set of chairs and then the sideboards on the side of the pitch to get out and put Alexi McAllister into a headlock. So we'll just take that as it is, because Núñez is just an animal. I seen him in his full kit as well. He snuck onto the pitch and somehow got a bottle of champagne and was smashing it everywhere too. But something that I wanted to point out is Endo, and how Endo being one of the and Virgil as well being one of the oldest people on the pitch, playing a full 120 minutes of a football game, and Endo covering more ground, as you mentioned, Paul. That he covered more ground than the 300 and something odd million worth of a midfield, or 3 players worth of Chelsea. Like, Endo ruined both Enzo and Caicedo, and I'm not sure if anybody's seen it, but there was a clip where Endo was coming back across the pitch towards where the cameras were, and Caicedo just bounced off him. It was beautiful. It was glorious to see. And I genuinely could not stop laughing at that particular moment. But the couple of things that were mentioned, obviously, Dean, something that was a topic of conversation for an awful lot of it, and Jen has mentioned here as well, is thoughts on VAR and the ref yesterday. Jen thinks it was disgusting. I'd agree in some sense. I think the referee let an awful lot of things go purely because it was a final, which I'm happy for. I'd like to see that happen. Look, if you let things go, but let them go on both sides. But give me a couple of your thoughts on the disallowed goal for Van Dijk in the 60-something minute, I believe it was, in the first place. Do you feel that it was harsh? Do you feel that it was justified, or is it by the book of the law? Was it a correct decision?
It's such a conflicting one, because by the letter of the law, it's offside. But it's not a clear and obvious error, for one, because there's no guarantee that Colwill gets there to stop Van Dijk from heading the ball. So, and this happens every week in the Premier League. I think Arsenal scored multiple goals from set pieces in similar fashion, where they blocked people and it hasn't been given offside. All we've ever asked for this Premier League season is consistency. And we're just getting different decisions, different rules being thrown out there every week throughout all of England. You know, it's happening all over. It's just getting beyond the joke now for what's happening. And just to go to the Gravenberch incident with, well, some people say it should have been a red card, and you could argue that fact. Apparently on the commentary, because they can hear the VAR and the referee talking to each other, the ref was constantly asking what happened. What happened to him? I don't know what happened. He saw the foul, he played advantage, even though he didn't end up blowing for the foul on Gakpo, but hey. They kept asking what was going on. And they basically told him, oh, he stood on him, but then he was still adamant, like, what happened, because he stayed down. Why couldn't you just go to the screen? Why can't you just look? They were like, have a look. We're not recommending anything, but just go have a look while the game stops. What's the harm in it? And then he can go have a proper look and go, in a minute. There's a decision to be made here. I feel like there's a decision to be made. Because that could have swung the game even more towards our way. Some people would say it's not a red. Some people are saying because he's not looking at the ball, looking at the man, it's probably a yellow. But that's up to the referee on the pitch to decide. He didn't see it. He kept asking what happened. So now he's relying on somebody else to make a decision for him. He should be the one making the decision. It's balmy. Remember the Kwanzaa one from Crystal Palace? It got pulled back 2 minutes after. Why couldn't they pull this vote back? You know what I mean? It's just becoming something has to change in the summer. The way either the process or maybe a call of the referees, one or the other, whatever's easier, to sort something out, because the actual, I don't know what the word would be, but the actual state of the game, the integrity, that's the word. The integrity of the game is slowly falling away. It's just getting people less and less interested, because every week you're just expecting something to happen. And it's going to end up being a case where some teams are going to benefit more. And Chelsea typically have been that side. I remember Pochettino coming out before the game saying, "Oh, the referee's got to be fair. The referee can't give Liverpool everything." Yeah, in a minute, mate, they gave us nothing. They gave us a yellow card for having Ben Chilwell nearly punched Bradley in the face. We got a yellow card for that, but nothing was given on Casado for multiple fouls. You can see this is what the part of like what Klopp is thinking. He's fed up. I think this is part down to what's going on in his head. He's tired of this. Obviously, there's other little factors. I'm full on waiting for his last game where it's Paul Tierney and there's the VAR decision. He's just going to throw the screen at Paul Tierney's head or something along those lines, because it is draining managers, it's draining fans. Something has to change. I just don't know what they're going to do. I don't know if it is going to get any better, but thankfully that didn't stop us going forward. And I was waiting for him to find something for the last goal, in all honesty. I was sitting there waiting for the any VAR decision, because it took him a while the first time with the first goal. They didn't mention VAR for a good while. I'd say a good minute, and then it's, they're having a VAR check. It's like, what have you been looking at? Why is it taking you this long?
Yeah.
Obviously not clear and obvious, is it?
No, it's not. And look, my 2 cents on the Caicedo incident. We've seen 2 of our players sent off for similar incidents, and that's the issue. I don't care what the decision is, as long as the decision is consistent. That's the idea. And as Revenite mentions here, Poch is moaning about not giving preferential treatment to us because of Klopp leaving, and he got in the ref's head. I'm sick of it. Dean is right. I think there was an element of it to that as well, but I also think that a lot of stuff was let go because. So it's a double-edged sword, you see, as a referee. When you want play to run and you want a game to be physical, you need to be able to control it, and you need to be able to. And like, there was no cards handed out in the first half, and I said it at halftime. I said, "Watch now, there's going to be a slew of cards handed out in the second half." And as you mentioned, Conor Bradley got given a card for getting pushed, which boggled my mind. If you watch the video back, Conor Bradley never laid a hand on Ben Chilwell. Ben Chilwell was just trying to rile up a bunch of kids, and I think that's pathetic in itself. That's your captain and an English international, and that's what he's doing. But look, it is what it is, and realistically, and these shouts of Chelsea saying, "Oh, well, we played with the younger squad," by age, yes, not by experience, because we had 6 players on. In extra time, 6 of our 11 players on in extra time that had only made their season debut this season. Like, that's the way it is, and it's just I find it hilarious. Just and that goal that you mentioned as well with VAR, that's going to get pulled back. Like, if that's the rule, cool, no problem. Now you've set a precedent. Every time that happens now going forward, and it will happen this weekend. Mark my words, it'll happen. It'll be a topic of discussion this weekend. I'm shocked we haven't gotten an apology yet about it, but the reason we haven't gotten an apology yet is because by the letter of the law, it is a correct call, but it's never called. And there's been incidents where I've seen Arsenal stand 3 people behind the line of defenders and then move towards them. Now, maybe Endo was slightly offside and impeded play, but again, you can't guarantee that Colwill gets there, and you can't guarantee that he beats him in the air, because Van Dijk is so good in the air. You need 2 people on him at all times. That's how good he is. So it's not a clear and obvious error, as you mentioned, meaning it shouldn't have been called back. But I understand why it was, because it's the letter of the law. And look, we can sit here with a shit-eating grin on our face because we won anyway, regardless. So that's the best way that I look at it. Regardless of what decision you want to make, we won, and that's the way that I look at it. Before we move on to a couple of our next topics, just to let everybody know, please make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make sure you have your notification bell on for all future videos and streams so that you never miss out on any content. We'll be back again tomorrow evening with 2 streams tomorrow, one at 7:30 UK time for our pre-game stream for our FA Cup matchup against Southampton on Wednesday, and then we'll also have our Star Stripes and Anfield night stream later on that evening with our American friends who will be up and at them at 9 p.m. Eastern time, or it is 2 a.m. UK time. So that should be good. But moving on from that, one thing I want to discuss, and it's been mentioned a couple of times in this, is Virgil van Dijk. And just to put it into context, of the past 10 seasons, I want to get up to the number here. Of the past 10 seasons, there has only been one person that has 6 100, 100, 100, 100 seasons. And for anybody that doesn't know what that is, a quadruple 100 season is 100 or more duels won, 100 or more aerials won, 100 or more clearances, and 100 or more recoveries. It's quite literally the equivalent of averaging a triple-double for a season in basketball. Is probably the most equivalent way that you could put it. And Virgil van Dijk in the last 10 years has had 6 of those. Paul, is it about time that we start calling Virgil van Dijk not only possibly the best defender in the Premier League, but the best defender in football in general, as in maybe the past 20 to 30 years, realistically, like beyond the likes of a Rio Ferdinand, a Vidic, and those of that ilk?
Well, yes, I think so. Because if you go back to that era, you know, we have that dominant John Terry, that Chelsea team. Football was a little bit different. There was always 2 midfielders sitting in front of the defenders in those days. It was more compact. There was a lot of 1-0 game. The rules were also different too. Now, there was no VAR, so defenders was getting away with a lot of stuff, right? Van Dijk has changed Liverpool more than any other player, I think, has changed a team in the last 20 years. If you remember what we were as a team before Van Dijk and what we were the couple of years after he arrives, it's a totally different team. So there's no doubt in my mind, even if I try to remove my Liverpool bias, which is not the easiest thing, I must admit, I can't see any of those defenders in their prime that I would rather have at Liverpool over Van Dijk in his prime. So that alone would suggest that Van Dijk is probably one of the best defenders in the Premier League era. I get some of those people who will say, you know, he is not that great because of the year, you know, when he had that injury, when Pickford had that assault on him and we missed him for a year. And, you know, he was a little bit slow to coming back to you know, after that long recovery. But the guy has been so massive. And again, one of the knock against him again is he doesn't have the 10, 12-year career like some of those guys, because he came to us relatively older. But there's no doubt in my mind that he is one of the best in the Premier League era, because I can't think of another player that I would rather have. So, and also, I don't know another player who is a better header of a football from a set piece. He's just so good. He actually kicks the ball with his head, right? So,
it's beautiful.
Yes. So he's a constant threat in the offensive half for set pieces. So that is also have to be taken into consideration. He's just a monster. And the guy is just so smooth. He doesn't seem to be the fastest, but he covers the ground with those long legs so gracefully that he's just always where he's supposed to be. I don't know. I think he has to be one of the best, if not the best.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. Race, it's 139 duels won, 103 aerials won, 130 clearances, and 124 recoveries. And that's only now, with a possible 20-plus games still to play. This could possibly eclipse his near Ballon d'Or winning season. If Liverpool win all 4 trophies, which currently, as it stands, we should be favourites to do, Is this the year a defender wins the Ballon d'Or? Or
Well,
could it be
it's
instead of him?
it's so tough, for a defender to kind of put themselves in that conversation. It's not only, team success, but I think, I don't think the clean sheets have been there necessarily. I know that's not always individual defenders' fault. There's other guys on the team. There's got to be stuff that happens in the build-up and whatnot. But I don't know. I'm fine with people kind of underestimating Van Dijk and just kind of because he's so-called past his prime or not as young anymore. He's still the best defender in the world. He's still in his prime. Don't give me any of that. He is absolutely rock solid. Put him toe to toe with anyone in the world right now. He's the best. And then obviously with defenders too, chipping with a few goals here and there as well. Van Dijk has certainly done that. There's nothing on the field that he can't do. I just remember so many times yesterday, even like just a simple block of a cross. He makes it look so easy. There was one where he's running towards the end line, and like he just kind of sticks his leg back behind him, and he stops a cross from going into the box, and it just makes it look so easy. He really is, a Rolls Royce defender, just can do everything well. And now on top of what he's accomplished, and we already knew this, but the leader that he is on the team, now the club captain, has only further cemented just how great of a player he is. I mean, we saw, it was a team of kids out there, and he was the leader on that field, and he was getting them right, getting them ready. And just, it's almost like, hey, if you guys mess up in midfield or something, don't worry about it. I got you. I got you guys. Me and Kanate, we'll get you guys back here. We'll get them sorted. So don't worry about making any mistakes. And it really felt like, leading by example. Exactly. He really is the perfect captain, for this club. I mean, he's made such a seamless transition into officially being our captain. We know he's been a leader on the pitch for so many years, but there just isn't much else to say. Just like Salah, I mean, Van Dijk is just unquestionably the best at his position in the world. Anything with defenders too. He's 31 years old. You can still play at a high level well into your 30s. It's not like you're needing to be the fastest guy or making the most athletic moves out there. Like your game will play on for a few years. So we still have that to look forward to. It truly was an amazing performance from him. That was his third man of the match for us in a final. He's a big game player, steps up in the moment. I just love the celebration that he gave after his goal. He just kind of fell to the ground. He was so exhausted. It just felt like so much was released. Like, we finally broke through. We finally can rest a little bit. There's still a few minutes left, but we can finally, it was just such a perfect fitting celebration. And all the youngsters were coming on and just kind of, treat him like his dad almost. Like, yeah, nice job, Dad. Yeah. It gave off that vibe. It was just such a beautiful thing to see. He really is the best defender of his era, and I'll put him up with any defender in the Premier League era. As Paul mentioned, how much the game has changed, and not being able to get away with stuff, and he's still excellent. And I would think that some of those other guys in the past, would struggle in today's game. Just we play such a high line, and he still has to track back and make those one-on-one challenges. He just makes everything look so easy. It's truly effortless for him out there. And for him to come back from the ACL injury, and then that next season we were in a quadruple charge with him as a leader. I mean, it really was just a one year we didn't get to see him because of his injury, and then we're right back to the top level. Maybe last year it dipped a little bit just with the team in general. Maybe that was obviously more of the midfield's problem, but still not at his best last year. Just kind of a year of frustration, but. It just looks like, seeing him as our captain and as our leader out there, it just seems like he's just playing so loose out there. Like, I mean, he's got nothing to prove. We've won everything. He's proven himself, but now he really is just playing free, and it's just only adding to his legacy of the best defender since whatever. He truly is a special player.
Yeah, Dean, I can't really think of somebody that would be able to come into this Liverpool side and impact the team the same way he has. like, people think that Salah was the game changer when he came in, but realistically, it was the purchasing of both Alisson and Van Dijk at the time that properly transformed this team. First of all, Alisson with his distribution and how he's able to use his feet, and him just being a magnificent shot stopper, and Van Dijk being, at the time, one of the most sought after prospects at the time as well. When we purchased him, and even when he played for Celtic, he was a very, very good defender. And then when he came down to Southampton as well, and we purchased him from there, like, people looked at us like it was crazy. And then they were like, oh, and then obviously you have all the United heads that were like, oh, we're getting Harry Maguire for more, and we're paying more for Harry Maguire because we're clearly getting a Rolls Royce of a defender, only for him to absolutely fall on his arse. And I still don't rate him as a defender these days, but that's a topic for another time. But is there anybody, and try and take your Liverpool bias out of it for a moment, is there anybody that can compare to him, first of all, this season, and then also compare to his near Ballon d'Or winning season, which, to be perfectly honest with you, I think he should have won. I think he was robbed there. It was just a popularity contest between Ronaldo and Messi for that particular time. But do you feel like there's anybody that is even on his level, either this year or his near Ballon d'Or winning year?
Even without Liverpool bias on my side, it's just no, isn't it? Let's be honest. You can see why Jurgen was adamant he wanted him in that summer where it kind of didn't work out negotiation-wise. And then we went back for him in January. Salah was second choice in that position, whereas Virgil was the undisputed number one, and you can see why. There's nobody, as far as I know, I don't know the wider leagues and any prospects or top level centre backs at the moment. I don't think anybody compares. Someone who might be similar in one aspect, like pace or anticipation or their interceptions or anything like that, but he has everything. He has the whole package, doesn't he? Even if you go back to like Arsenal's best centre backs, like Tony Adams, couldn't play in this Liverpool side. John Terry couldn't play in this Liverpool side. Too slow, play too deep, couldn't play in this high line. The only one who could probably come is Rio Ferdinand for United. But Rio Ferdinand hadn't got the passing range Virgil van Dijk has. He didn't have the same dominance in the air. He was good, but he didn't have the better numbers that Virgil van Dijk has. He wasn't up for the Ballon d'Or up against the greatest players in the world. But I fully agree that the Ballon d'Or is a pure popularity contest. I think it has no reputable jurisdiction in anything anymore. I lost interest in it a number of years ago because it literally was between two players, and it's still kind of like that now. But like I said, that's another conversation. I don't know, with your stats heads on, I don't know if you can think of anybody who comes close, who is capable of coming in and taking over from Virgil if he was just to turn around and hanging my boots up, God forbid. But if he just turned around and said that, is there anybody out there who could just slot in and have the same impact? I can't think of anybody off the top of my head personally.
I think there's somebody in-house that might be able to do it.
Kwanzaa.
Yeah.
It's just not as quick. It's just I know what you're saying.
I think he's probably the most likely, first of all, physical mold, and just watching him this season, Kwanzaa, like there's been incidents where Kwanzaa's been in a 2-on-1 situation, and immediately I thought Van Dijk could just cut his hair and got himself a bit of a fro. Like the hands went behind the back. He started jockeying back, watching the player's hips, not the ball, not the player's eyes, watching their hips and shoulders to see when to make the move. And then it was like Van Dijk had just changed his jersey. And if there's glimpses of that in a 20-year-old kid, Kwanzaa could have saved us the guts of 80 to 100 million pounds very, very easily in the purchasing of a new left-sided centre back. Now, this all depends on what happens when a new manager comes in. I'm not saying, like, we've seen here what Jamie was mentioning, that John Chapman on yesterday's broadcast mentioned that Virgil van Dijk is likely to leave with Klopp. I don't think that will be the case if he gets back into Champions League football next year, which is looking very likely. The only reason I say it's not likely, Jamie, is where can he go that's an improvement on where he is at the moment? City, Real Madrid, Like, he's not going to go to City because that would be the same as Michael Owen going to United. He'd be hated. He'd absolutely burn every bridge between here and Manchester. Real Madrid, you could understand it, but realistically, they're not in the market for a centre back at the moment. Well, they are, but they're all fucking injured at the moment. They're in the market more for a right back, which they have Alphonso Davies currently an agreement made with them, and they need a striker. Like, the only reason that they're in the market for a centre back at the moment is purely on injuries, and I think that solves itself over the summer when people start coming back. When you've Tchouaméni starting as your centre back, you've an injury problem in your team. But realistically, I don't see him going anywhere, even if Klopp does leave. I think he's not going to come and be named a Liverpool captain and hang around for a year and then jet off. Like, that's not something anybody does, and so that. There's too many conflicting factors that would lead me to believe that he's not going anywhere. He may sign a year or two extension, and that would be that. And even at that, I'd be fine with that. Let him run out his career, retire a red, and build a statue outside with him and Konate beside each other, and that'd be absolutely beautiful. But I don't think he's going anywhere myself. I think he's here till he hangs it up. And similarly, I think with how this season is going, I think it's instilling an awful lot of revitalization and an awful lot of players that may have ran out of it last season. The likes of a Mo Salah maybe that might have heard whispers of a Saudi League big paycheck, and now he's seeing how this team is performing without him, and he's like, I want to get on this band train as well. I want to get back from injury. I want to start contributing and scoring goals and winning trophies. Like, there's a competitive edge to it as well that comes into it. But I don't think anybody's leaving. It's hard to predict because of the new manager, but I'm just after seeing something very funny here on Twitter. Just to move off the topic at the moment and talk about yesterday as well. Imagine being Moises Caicedo, get offered a contract by Liverpool and solidify the CDM position, reject it, accept a bigger and longer contract with Chelsea, lose 4-1 to Liverpool, sit in 11th place in the Premier League while Liverpool is in first, and lose the Carabao Cup final to Liverpool. Life comes at you fast, doesn't it? But yeah, thanks, Caicedo. You saved us a lot of money. And to move on to the next topic, which is his replacement, essentially, is Wataru Endo. Pound for pound, in my opinion, the best centre defensive midfielder in the league. You can keep your Rice, you can keep your Rodri, you can keep your Caicedo, clearly. Rice costs 100 million. Rice performs well. That's what you expect out of a £100 million signing. Caicedo was 115 million. He's performing terribly. It's not what you expect out of a 115 million pound signing. Rodri, I think he gets lost in that City team. He's good, but again, pound for pound, I think Wataru Endo is the best centre defensive midfielder in the league. Paul, I'll throw it over to yourself first with this one. Would you be in agreement with that statement, or do you think that there's still room to improve in that CDM department? Could we possibly look in-house for a replacement? We have Stefan Bajcetic, who we know plays as an 8 and as a 6. We've seen McConnell step in and play very well in that holding midfielder role. He could be an option there too. If we wanted, we could mold a Ryan Gravenberch into that role. He's 21, he's big, he's rangy. He clearly likes to get from box to box. He could do a number there. Or is there somebody on the open market that you'd be looking at?
Right now, I don't think we need to worry about going to the market. I think we have enough talent. We have enough players in the middle of the park that we can do just fine. Not only the 3 starters that we have, or the 4 starters, but if you look at the young guys, the McConnell, the Bajcetic, we have enough talent. I think we need to improve our team, but I think in the middle of the park, I think we're just fine. I have to say a word of thanks to former captain Jordan Henderson, though, because had he not, I was not calling for him to leave. I expected him to stay another year or 2, because he was our leader. But had he not left, we probably would not have gotten, maybe Endo, because Endo basically cost us nothing because we use Henderson's money to buy Endo. And what an upgrade, if there is ever an upgrade. So the difference between Endo and Henderson in terms of their play right now. It's night and day. So I would not go as far as saying Endo is the best 6 in the Premier League right now. But in terms, when you look at all of the factors, how much we paid for him, what are the other options that we had, I think it's a fantastic signing. I'm not going to say he's better than Caicedo, even though he's playing better right now, because Caicedo is 23, Endo is 31. So, and I still believe that Caicedo is talented, and if he was with Liverpool, with our structure, our system, our coaching, he would have been performing much better right now. I firmly believe that. But he still was that worth 115 million pounds. No way. So I am extremely happy with Endo. And I also believe that Stefan Bajcetic might be our long-term 6. So what Endo does is it gives us a little bit of flexibility, so we don't have to rush back and fun. Plus, even some of the other guys like McConnell, or we can take our time, and we give them a few games here or there, minutes here or there, but we don't have to just push them in, as the savior for our team. So Endo's signing was a very shrewd signing. I remember the day when I heard about this signing, I had to Google and say, Endo, who the hell is this? Never heard of this guy before. I knew quite a few Japanese players, but I have to admit, I've never heard of Wataru Endo before we signed him. So we have to give kudos to the recruiting team. So, yeah, and one of the things that I like about the guy seems like he would prefer die out on the pitch rather than letting down his team. He will run until he can't run anymore. So he is a big, big asset. And at 16 million pounds, it's like we got him for free.
It's exactly 16 million pounds is an absolute bargain. And Ray, something that was mentioned here by Jay Muse is Klopp said he'd expect Endo to sign a long-term deal with Liverpool. Like, Paul, you mentioned he's 31 and Caicedo's 23, but who looked like the 23-year-old out there is the real thing. Like that's what boggled my mind. He schooled a World Cup winner and a record signing fee player. Now I know Caicedo didn't put the fee on himself, but nonetheless, it's when you get signed for 115 million and sign an 8-year deal, it really is something that you need to live up to that. But Race, pound for pound at the moment, can you see anybody better than Endo in the league? And did you even expect this when we first signed him?
Well, I remember I was on a stream when the news broke that we were signing Endo, and I was frantically looking, about him. Who is this guy? What are we? We're spending. It wasn't a lot of money, but on a 30-year-old, number 6 from the Bundesliga, not a great team in Stuttgart. What is this? And then Klopp said, in his interviews, like, hey, trust us. This guy is an immense player. He will give it his all. And that was kind of one thing we've thought about, a player of Endo's makeup, Japanese players, they always give it their all. And, and he was the captain, I believe, too, for Stuttgart. So, a high quality character person. So that the ambition part of him, the makeup was there. And really, that's a big deal. That's like a lot of what comes down to Klopp players and who he brings in is the ambition, the drive, the mental makeup of them. Because if you have that mental makeup that's on the same level as Klopp, you're going to thrive in our system and in our team. And that's exactly what Endo has done. He had maybe a rough go about it his first couple games, but ever since, he's been phenomenal. I haven't groaned once when I see his name on a team sheet. It's been, oh, cool. Let's see what Endo can do today. He's really kicking on. I don't think there's any question just with how much we paid for him. He's the best, at his price tag, in the league. I mean, we got him for next to nothing. I mean, he is incredible. He can put in, 80%, if not match, the best CDM in the league on any given day. His work rate is just incredible. I mean, for him to go the full 120 there. And of course we saw him afterwards in a boot, but it was more precautionary, I think. And as we mentioned, it looks like he's back training today. But man, he is he's incredible. I'd not expect him to be this good. And that's the type of move that you need in a team that's has big goals and big ambitions, one that's expecting to compete at the top, you need those bargain players to outperform expectations in order to succeed. And he's done exactly that. And he's putting the likes of Caicedo and Enzo in his back pocket. I mean, he's just bossing them around. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, and that's basically what Endo is. I mean, it's absolutely the absolute fleece job that we done, even though we bid for Caicedo and he ultimately chose Chelsea. But just the way that deal has turned out. I mean, now what? I said it when Caicedo chose Chelsea over us. I'm like, at your own risk, buddy. Go ahead, do it. Go to that mess Chelsea team. Join the 20 new signings, the new manager, no structure. Good luck. Have fun. And there you go. I mean, there's such a vindicated response that we've gotten from that. I mean, that is absolutely beautiful. We own Chelsea. It's quite simply, we own them. I mean, I'm just so much on my high horse about that. Like, we are just make them look absolutely embarrassing. And this Endo, Caicedo, Enzo, ordeal is just
Lavia.
Lavia too, even though Lavia has been injured and whatnot. But again, same with Lavia. Like, hey, buddy, have fun. You could that could have been you. And Endo's not going to be here forever. But that's Endo's spot to lose right now. I mean, this could be you. For the next 10 plus years. But too late. Have fun dealing with the mess that Chelsea now have at their hands, and probably going to sack Pochettino at some point. They're going to have to sell a bunch of players. I don't know if FFP are going to come down them, whatever.
Well, they will.
They will.
Chelsea are in such a hole right now, and I think it was either myself and yourself, Dean, or it was myself and Dan, one of the other hosts, that was discussing it in the group chat of if Chelsea were to win yesterday, which is why I was looking at how they played in extra time as very, very suspect, because as Paul, I think you mentioned it earlier and was mentioned in the chat as well here, Chelsea admitted they were playing for penalties in that extra time period. If Chelsea were to win that competition, as in win the Carabao Cup, they will be put into the Conference League, a European competition, meaning they would now fall under the UEFA FFP rules, meaning the amortization of their contracts that they've put out and the purchases that they've made would now only be over a maximum of 5 years, meaning that they would be a further £60 million in the hole. So they would have to have accumulated £160 million by the end of June. Otherwise, they would have been up to shit and banned from European competitions and banned from all sorts and sanctions and the whole lot. So what would have happened is Caicedo's deal currently at the moment works out at about $12.5 million a year because they've stretched it over 8 years. However, if they got into a UEFA competition, which they still have a likelihood of doing, they're not far off Conference League spots. If they get into a European competition, now their amortization only runs over 5 years, meaning that the Caicedo deal all of a sudden adds another 8 million onto the bill every year. And then you multiply that across all of the contracts and all of the transfers that they've made, the Enzo deal, the Lavia deal, even the payments of contracts and funds. They are in a massive hole, and the spending that they've done over the past 24 months as of the end of this year is going to bite them in the ass. But Dean, considering that there may end up being a fire sale at Chelsea this summer, and there may be assets going on the cheap, is there anybody from the Chelsea squad that you'd take? I personally would take Conor Gallagher. That might be the only one that I take from that team.
No.
But to be honest, I don't even think we have a need for him, but he'd be the only one possibly worth anything purely because he'd be pure profit.
I'm going off the fact that Alonso is going to be our coach. I'm just going to say that straight away. If that's the case, I think Colwill would be a shout for a left-sided centre-back, a left footer. Van Dijk would go central if we played the three at the back. That's what I'm thinking in my head. And the only other one, but he's obviously had his injury problems, but if we could get him for cheap, I wouldn't care. Give me Nkunku to play as one of the inside tens any day. He is class. He's just had them injury issues and he's working his way back to fitness. They have got quality in that squad. It's just it's just thrown together, a mishmash of loads of different pieces, and it's just not worked out. As simple as that. They tried to get the best young coach available to try to sort it out, and it's still not enough. And small part of me would take Palmer as well, but he probably wouldn't even play. I just like to take everyone's best players, a bit like Chelsea in their own sense. But other than that, like I said, some people would still take Caicedo. He's still a good player, but at the end of the day, we're very big on it. If you want to play for Liverpool, we'll have you. If there's a small part of you that doesn't, we're not interested. And I think that's ultimately why we didn't push with the Caicedo deal more, because we could have tried more. We could have offered a load more money. We could have, you know what I mean? We could have gone at the extra mile. But as soon as he was like, I'm not sure, I think we were just like, yeah, we're not going to bother. We'll just offer you what we can, and that's it. Whereas Endo,
we just said, here's 110 million. We'll make you your centre defensive midfielder of the future. This is what your salary is going to be. If you want to come and play for us, you come and play for us. If not, the deal is going to remain there, and Chelsea are going to have to come in with more money for you. Otherwise, you're staying at Brighton, basically.
Exactly. Whereas Endo was like, it was offered to him, and he jumped at the chance. It broke his heart to leave Stuttgart, and they lost their captain. They were devastated. They obviously needed the money, but Endo jumped at the chance because he knew he wanted it. It was a dream move, and he'd give everything, and he has given everything, even in the early troubles he had at the start, adapting to the league and adapting to the pace of the football. He just kept going and going, and we're reaping the rewards from it now. You can't really ask for anything else, and that's why we're very big on, if you want to be here, we'll give you a chance. We'll be patient with you because we know you're going to give us everything.
Yeah, that's the way that I look at it. And speaking of players coming in, there is one player that we have to speak about possibly going out, which was, in my opinion, the man of the match yesterday in Kelleher. On Irish airwaves, there's conversations of him being the Ireland number one, which I think he should be, because Gavin Bazunu is just not playing well. He's getting more regular minutes, but he's just not as good as Kelleher. It's just the fact that Kelleher is in the impossible situation of being behind the world number one in Alisson. And Klopp has mentioned numerous times now, Paul, that he is the best backup keeper in the world. And boy, oh boy, did he prove it yesterday with possibly one of his best performances that he's had all season. That's obviously helped his price. And we know he's going to be playing an awful lot more now, considering Alisson is going to be out until the international break, which is nearly until April. So crucially, he's going to be playing an FA Cup game on Wednesday. He's going to be playing a Premier League game this weekend. And then he's going to be playing against Man City as well on top of that. So crucial games upcoming for Kelleher. Has the last number of games and him seeing his improvement following doubts earlier in the season given you more belief that we're going to be fine until Alisson comes back?
Yeah, I think so too. It's a little bit unfortunate that we have him on peanuts while we have Adrian sitting there doing nothing on 60K a week.
Yeah.
You know? So we need to, well, I hope the club address that. I think they would. They should. So, no. Well, Kelleher, I said it in the group chat that his transfer fee probably doubled after yesterday's performance. But, you know, I would like to see him get a break on Wednesday. I would like to see Adrian in the goal on Wednesday. Because if you are getting 60 grand a week, you can play a game against Southampton. But other than that, with Alisson being out for a little while, and we have some very important games coming up, we now have to look at how we can protect Queeve. So, because we need him on Saturday against who we're playing. We're playing another Premier League game. We're playing Forest, and then City the following week. So I think it's time now we look at protecting Queeve a little bit and to see what we have with Adrian. Because if he can't play against Southampton, then what is the point of having him on the staff? So selfishly, I would like to see Queeve stay with Liverpool. Yes, I know he wants to play first team football, and other teams may be able to offer him that, which we can't with Alisson. But having said that, if we have the ambition to compete on multiple fronts going forward and to win trophies year after year, we need to have a solid number two. And a solid number two for a top 4, top 5 club would be a goalkeeper who would start for a bottom, a bottom place team in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Say from 12 down. So that player
To be honest, I
is
think he starts for about 75% of teams right now.
Correct. So we can't afford to have a huge drop-off between your number one and your number two if you plan to compete for 4 trophies year after year. So selfishly, I would love to see him stay, definitely with better income, better salary, better terms, because he looks like the kind of guy who, will not create any chaos in the dressing room, will not complain, will sit, and whenever we give him a chance, he will give it his all. So hopefully he stays. But if he say to the club, I want to go, and if a proper offer comes in for him, then of course I would understand. But I definitely want to see the club take care of him, because 10K a week is nothing if Adrian is really on 60K a week as reported. But I would like to see Adrian in goal on Wednesday, because we need to protect Queeve now, because we're going to need him for the next couple of games.
Exactly. And Jamie, I think you triple it. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. Triple it. Otherwise, I'm not selling him. That'll be my opinion on that. And Dean, you can laugh at that all you want, but
because he's Irish.
Yeah, well, I'm instituting a new thing. You have your English tax. We now have Irish tax. That man, without him yesterday, we would have lost that game 3 or 4-0. It is basically that simple. And when you have a backup keeper that could start for probably 75%, 15 teams in the Premier League, and that's your backup keeper, and he's happy to do that we're aware of, that he's happy to do that. Realistically, Dean, that's a diamond. You cannot let that go. How would you have felt going into yesterday if it was Adrian playing in goal?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I fully agree. He is class. I just think realistically, from a business sense, if someone comes in with a 30+ million offer in summer, he'll be sold because he wants to be playing every week, and he deserves to be playing every week. He's just beyond, like I say, the best goalie in the world. If Alisson was 35+, you keep him around and he'll probably take over. But Alisson's 31, 32, he's realistically got another 4 or 5 years at the top. Still, I can't see.
Keepers peak late. Keepers peak 28 to 35. That's the keeper's peak. And they peak longer. And now with everything as well, you've Buffon, who could still probably play very well now. He's just over with Palermo at the moment in Italy. I believe that's the team he's with at the moment. The team that he first started with, trying to help them get promotion. And realistically, if, as you nearly puked on screen there with the thought of Adrian playing in goal, Race and Paul, the analogy that I'm going to come out with here, and that the backup keeper is the easiest and hardest job in the world, very similar to being a backup quarterback in an NFL team. It is the easiest job and the hardest job in the world at the same time, because all of a sudden, in the midst of chaos, the number one goes down, or the number one is missing, or the number one is injured or needs rest, and all of a sudden, you who have not played a tick of football in a match speed sense are now fired into the cauldron, so to speak, and you need to perform as you were the last line of defense. It can be the best job in the world and the worst job in the world in the same breath, which is why having somebody of Kelleher's ilk is probably the best thing to have. And I really hope we do keep him. Paul, I 100% agree with you in saying that we need to increase his salary, because it's abysmal what he's on at the moment, and Adrian is on 60 grand a week. I think the only reason that was kept and he was renewed for a year is because of fears of Kelleher possibly going last summer, and they were fielding offers. And you might laugh at that 15 to 20 million triplet comment that I made, Dean, but we were offered 20 million for him and we rejected it. So looks like my valuation hasn't gone all too wrong on him, considering I'm probably in line with the club's valuation. And to be fair, if somebody came in with 50 million for him, I'd say, yeah, okay, fair enough. But he's a 24-year-old goalkeeper who just put on the performance of a lifetime. His stock is only going up. He's learning from one of the best, and the sky is the limit for him. And I think the only thing that's stopping him from being Ireland's number one is purely more game time. And as selfish as I am, I'd like to see him leave so that we can actually get a competent goalkeeper in. I love Bazunu, but just don't think he's it. He's just not it for me. Kelleher, on the other hand, I think could be the next Shea Given for Ireland and just be there for 15 years, realistically. But Race, is there a price in your head that you'd accept for Kelleher, or is he similar to Darwin and Chelsea's interested in him, that he's untouchable?
I wouldn't say he's untouchable. Like you said, just look at the position he's in as a young goalkeeper behind the best goalkeeper in the world. I think even though it'll be a different manager, I think they all would recognize whoever would come in to see this prospect that we have and say, hey, if you want to play somewhere else, we totally get it. You deserve it. You've won cups for us. You know, it would definitely be respectful on both ends. I don't know what a price would look like. I would think though. I think it'd be more than 20 million for sure. I think it would be another Premier League team coming in and making him their number one. And since, you know, there could be multiple teams vying for him as a number one spot, that price could maybe be a little a battle between a couple of clubs, and it just kind of goes up a little bit. I thought about this the other week, like where would Kelleher go? And I think Brighton might be a good spot for him. I think their goalkeeper situation isn't that set.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a little. I don't know. I don't really know much about their goalkeepers, and they're more than a mid-table side. They're, you know, pushing for European spots, and they're still, you know, there. And so you know,
somewhere that I heard would be a perfect place for him. And I laughed when I heard it, but the more I thought about it, and I can guarantee you Dean is going to piss himself laughing when I say this, but the more I thought about it, the more it made an awful lot of sense. And that team was Bayern Munich. With Neuer at the end of his career, in the very, very last echelons of his career, Kelleher could walk into a starting spot of a Champions League team that is competing for a Bundesliga every year. Look, I can see it in your face, Dean. You're thinking about it, and you're like, okay, maybe it makes a little bit of sense.
From a player point of view, it makes sense, but I just know Bayern's too political to take on a number two from another club to replace Neuer. Could you imagine the uproar in the fan base? Who goes spare?
Everybody is a number two to somebody at some point.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. And going from Liverpool's number two to Bayern Munich's number one, replacing their best goalie of the last 20 years, probably.
But again, that's like trying to.
I get what you say.
Like you're trying to replace. That's like trying to replace Klopp. You're never going to replace Neuer. You can only hope to attempt to replicate him, and that's the same situation that we'll have with Klopp when Klopp leaves in the summer. I don't think it's the craziest of shouts, in my own opinion. I think he would do very well over there. It's a much less congested schedule. They don't have 4 different trophies every year. They only have the 3. They have the Deutsche Pokal, and then they have the Champions League or whatever European trophy they're in, and then they have the Bundesliga itself. But I think that one was probably the one that came out of left field for me that made hilariously the most amount of sense.
I say Newcastle.
Newcastle, do you think so? Instead of Vicario? Not Vicario. Nick Pope, apologies.
Well, no, the thing is, Pope is a very good shot stopper. But it's clear that top teams now want a goalkeeper that is more than just stopping shots, because Pope is terrible with his feet. So he's kind of holding back their team. So I saw somewhere where they wanted somebody going forward that is good at their feet. So he, I think, would be an upgrade to Nick Pope in that sense.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody noticed this as well. Kelleher's right-footed, by the way. Did anybody notice how many long balls he was pinging with his left foot during the Carabao Cup final?
Yeah,
he's right-footed, dominantly right-footed, but he's clearly unbelievable with both feet and under pressure as well, as he had the likes of Nicholas Jackson and Mudryk chasing him down while he was using his left foot and his right foot. He was pinging balls left and right with both feet, and it was absolute. And I was looking at it, I was like, is he left-footed or right-footed? I actually had to Google it during the game. It's predominantly right-footed. So if somebody's that good with both feet, as you say, I think he'd be a good replacement for Nick Pope. I'm trying to think of other teams realistically. Brentford, another shout. Is there anybody else? United,
like Bournemouth, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe a Bournemouth too. Yeah, there's
Brighton
a lot of teams.
I feel Brighton was just because you know, signing Kelleher to be your number one, I think is as you mentioned, Kelleher would start for 75% of Premier League clubs,
Mhm.
you know, and so that'd be an instant upgrade for a team that's, you know, while they still sell a decent amount of players and whatnot and act as a kind of a selling team, but they still have a lot of, you know, ambition as a team. And Kelleher would be a really solid signing for them. I think it'd just be a really intriguing move.
I think so too. But look, and selfishly, I hope he doesn't go anywhere because he genuinely is such a godsend as a player. But we are going to finish it there, guys. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and make sure you have your notifications on for all future streams and videos. We'll have 2 streams tomorrow. The first one at 7:30 p.m. UK time, and then the second one then will be at 2 a.m. UK time or 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a Star Stripes and Anfield Night stream. Also, Jen, thank you so much for your £9.99. Really is very much appreciated, and we'll promise to try and have Kev on a little bit more in the future, hopefully when he comes back. But he's clearly still hungover from the celebrations of yesterday, and I can guarantee you he's probably still going to be hungover in a couple of days' time. But nonetheless, from myself, from Dean, from Paul, from Race, thank you guys so much for joining us on this Monday evening. I hope everybody else has a wonderful rest of the day wherever you are in the world, and thanks for watching.